I'm sorry, Lieutenant. I have tried to be gracious. I have answered all your questions. My courtesy has been rewarded with accusation. I must ask you to leave my house and not return.
I can find my way out. I probably won't be back, sir. I gotta be in Los Angeles on Monday. But someday somebody's gonna come to your door. Commandant Sanchez, maybe? Somebody else? But somebody.
Hello, Colombo fans. Welcome to the brand new season of the Colombo Confab podcast. This is Sean.
It is? Oh, well, this is Steve. Nice to meet you.
Hi, Steve. This is our second to last season of the program.
Wow.
Not counting any program or bonus episodes that we may do, which I think we will at the end of all this. Assuming you remember enough of the programs we watch to,
Not really. Okay.
Yeah.
So, tonight we are going to discuss the episode, was it season 5, episode 2, A Matter of Honor, with Ricardo Maltaban.
Yeah. From Fantasy Island and a whole
plane,
bunch of other
plane.
stuff.
Sorry.
Yeah, although that's not him. And Khan and...
Khan.
Yet another old murderer who's no longer with us.
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah.
He played...
He was in a lot... Go ahead.
Oh, no. Go ahead, please.
Oh, he was in a lot of movies when he was younger, one of which is seen in this episode. There's a scene with him watching an old movie in the dark, and it's actually of a movie of him playing a matador. Yeah, in an old Mexican or Spanish movie. Yeah.
No, I did not know that. That is fascinating.
That is actually him, and the movie is called Santa, or as they would probably, it's possibly supposed to be pronounced Santa. Otherwise, it would be about Santa Claus.
What a neat fact. That's why people listen to us.
Yeah, that and the fart jokes and the dick jokes.
Oh. We do that too?
Yeah, sometimes.
So, Ricardo Maltaban plays the character, or the murderer, Luis Montoya. Now, he is of no relation to Inigo Montoya. Sorry.
Yeah, you could just keep going after I say.
Okay. No. I just think it's funny.
You don't have to stop and wait for a laugh track.
I just think that the son, Kuro, his father was killed, but by a bull. In a way, with Ingo, this guy killed his father. I'm sure you remember the speech that I've already forgotten.
You killed my name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die. Something like that. Yeah.
Anyway, so I always thought that this episode was a follow-up of Troubled Waters. And I don't remember why I thought that. Maybe you said something about it. I can't remember why I was under that impression. But according to this disc, Identity Crisis was the previous episode. So This wasn't a follow-up. Now, they do reference the episode Troubled Waters in this. Apparently, where was the cruise going to? Was it going to, like, Cabo or
Cozumel? I don't know.
But I guess that was big news in the Mexican newspaper.
Mm-hmm. By the way, this is the third and final episode that does not take place in the States. There's A Dagger of the Mind, which took place in London, and partly filmed in London, but mostly filmed in studio.
Yeah.
There's Troubled Waters, which was filmed almost entirely, I think, in on a cruise ship. And then there's this, which was obviously, you don't have to be a Mexican expert to realize that this is indeed in Mexico. I mean, you can tell by the flora and the fauna and the streets.
But not all of it. I think the interiors, specifically Montoya's home, was probably in the States. And the reason I say that is the scene where we see Montoya watching his old bullfighting days, the movie you just referenced. I've seen that room in a Twilight Zone.
Really?
It was the episode. I can't think of the name. I really don't feel like looking it up, but it's the episode. It's an episode where it's an old actress, like from the silent era, and her golden years are gone. She's now old and decrepit, but she daydreams about the days when she was a movie star, very similar to Forgotten Lady from Columbo, but like that. But now she can't act. She's about to lose her home. She's reminiscing about the good old days, and she portrays her characters again. She's reenacting those roles, but she sits in the same room watching a movie of herself, just like Montoya is doing. But it's the same identical room.
And I looked up a lot of the people, the actors in this. They're all like Mexican Americans that have starred in lots of things, none of which I've heard of, but mostly Westerns. And they're pretty much all dead, except for the guy that washes the car.
Okay, I was going to bring him up. I'm glad you... So I like to have IMDb up when we do these, so I just reference the actors and then their names if I think of it. But I'm scrolling through the photos. They're all like black and white, all these elderly people. You know, it's kind of neat to see them. And then I scroll across a half-naked young man, and I'm thinking, I wonder if Sean's seen this. So it's the guy who played the mechanic, Carlos. He's ripped.
You can tell he's ripped in the scene, but
he's oiled up, and you can see where that part of the man's body where the hips are, and it starts to angle down in that muscle towards his crotch region.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure he's naked in this, and he just cut out the bottom part.
I didn't look too much into him.
You can see his jungle trail going down from his belly button to
jungle trail. Nice. He obviously was, but what's so ironic is that now he's like 80-something years old. He was born in 1938, I think.
Yeah.
And, I guess, remembering yesteryear is one thing, but if you're going to have an IMDb photo, at least have something where, from a more dignified time of your career. I don't know what he did. I think that picture was before Colombo, I'm guessing.
It's kind of,
it just seemed kind of a weird picture. It's like what you would put on your resume almost. But I don't know who makes that decision, what pictures go up.
I don't either. But anyways, okay, so let's get into the story. We're going off on these little trails here.
There's not everybody's dead. The guy who plays Curro is still alive.
Oh, of course.
His name is A. Martinez. And speaking of hot beefcake, in the 80s and 90s, he was quite the looker, where he was worked out really a lot, and he was he's like 20 in this. So
he has a much more distinguished photo on IMDb than Carlos. Okay, so Curro, he works to some extent with Montoya at his ranch. It's not a ranch. What do you call these kind of things?
Estate. They raise cattle.
Well,
basically,
but they raise fighting bulls. Is there a name?
I think ranch would be the best way to describe it. I mean, that's what they would call it here in Texas.
Everything goes good with ranch, but okay. So Curro is his father also works for Montoya. He's kind of his his father is Montoya's right hand man, his sidekick, so to speak, in the ring and in life. But anyway, so Curro was in a bullfight with one of the most aggressive bulls that Montoya has on his ranch, and loses or gets gored. I guess that's when the bull gets you.
It's not a proper bullfight. The bull just got loose, and he ran into the ring to calm it down or whatever, and the bull gored him. Mm-hmm. And I guess we should explain who Luis Montoya is.
Yes,
he's a former matador or bullfighter,
famous matador.
Yeah,
he's
very
like
famous,
world renowned, I think. He's a treasure of the country. So
yeah, definitely. And but he was once gored in the leg very badly and almost bled out and died. So now he doesn't. Well, he's too old probably to do the bullfighting anymore. So now he just raises bulls on his farm or his ranch.
Right,
his ranch dressing.
And and so he raises bulls, sells them off. Which they quoted at some point. I think Colombo asks how much was what was the name of the bull? Marinaro, something like that.
Sounds good to me. Sounds good. I didn't write it down.
I know I'm saying it with just a horrible American accent.
Marinara. Can I have some marinara ranch dressing?
Ranch. So it's worth like $8,000. Now that is, when was this recorded? 1970, 1980?
70.
Anyway,
70.
So $8,000 back then. I can only imagine what that is in today's.
I actually thought he said 18,000.
Was it 18?
I think it was 18.
I'm pretty sure it was 8.
Okay.
Yeah. And then the reason I know that, Sean, is because I like to put on the subtitles when I watch Columbo. Just because if I see a name or something, I want to see how it's properly, like Marinaro. So I can write it down. Speaking of, okay, I know I wanted to stick to the story, but there's one thing I do need to discuss before we continue is whoever was in charge of subtitles for this particular episode, I hope got fired because they did an absolutely horrible job at the subtitles. And what I'm talking about is whenever somebody's speaking in Spanish, it just says speaking in Spanish. And it might be something really obvious, like "Hola, señor." It says speaking Spanish.
Okay.
But there'll be times where when Colombo speaks Spanish a little, it has the words. Or if Montoya is speaking, it might have the words. But other times, like I'd say 90% of the time, if someone's speaking Spanish, like to Colombo, or if there's something going on in the background, it just says speaking in Spanish. It is so lazy. You would think they could have translated that. I mean, I don't know if they do the subtitles in another state or another country, but I would think if it was done in L.A., because it is a universal product, that would have been done in L.A., which I'm sure there are plenty of people who speak Spanish in L.A. Yeah, so I don't understand why they couldn't subtitle, which would have been really beneficial to see that written out instead of in Spanish on the bottom. Right. Just really bizarre.
Yeah. I tried kind of keeping track of what people were saying, and I had a hard time about anyway. Yeah, I mean, I understand that sometimes you're not supposed to understand what they're saying because that, you know, like when we first see him, there's just like this cacophony of voices and it's confusing and he can't speak Spanish. They can't speak English, so that's understandable. But you're right. Yeah. Anyway.
But, let's talk about the scene where Columbo's introduced.
I think we should talk about the murder.
Oh, you want to talk about...
Right?
Oh, okay.
Because he's introduced right when the murder occurs.
Right, that's true. Okay, so Kuro's in the hospital after suffering from a gorge, from a bull. I do want to know, though, how much cheaper that hospital visit is compared to if he had been in the U.S., because I would say, $20 max?
Yeah, he's there. Give him some good drugs, it looks like, though.
Oh, yeah. No, a lot of people go across the border to get, like, dentistry, plastic surgery. a lot of people get a lot of things done. They go south of the border and get it done and come back because it's just so much cheaper.
Yeah, that's true. I'd rather go to, like, Thailand, though. I trust the doctors in Thailand more than the doctors in Mexico.
Yeah. Get what you pay for.
Yeah. That's like, anyway, no, it's too much off the track.
We catch Montoya, as we said earlier, watching himself in a bullfight, and he ends up dismissing his entire staff early.
And they're really excited about it.
Oh, I would be too.
They're all like, woohoo, yeah, woo. Literally, they all get in a couple trucks and take off. Mm-hmm. It looks like, almost like the parking lot at Home Depot, except they're happy.
So, Jesus.
Was that racist?
That was very
racist. Okay, sorry.
So,
and we got to talk about Miguel and the mezcal.
Yeah, what is mezcal? Is that a wine or is that a?
I believe it is tequila. I believe it is tequila.
Okay.
Yeah. You must not drink it. I hate it. I hate tequila unless it's in something big and yummy like a margarita.
Yeah, that's pretty much the only way I can enjoy it too.
But Miguel, poor Miguel has to stay behind and look after the cows and the horses. So Montoya says, "Oh, go look at some cows that wandered off in the pasture out
He
yonder."
just gives a whole bottle. Oh my god! And I've never seen him so happy.
Yeah, he's like, "Thank you." And then he says to Hector, "Okay, come on, we got to go kill this bull because when Curto gets out of the hospital, he's going to want to fight the bull, and he's not going to be in any condition to do it. So we got to put the bull down." And Hector's kind of like, "Oh no, I don't want to. I can't remember." But the two of them get in the ring.
Well, hold on. Well, we got to also bring up that Hector plans on leaving the services of Montoya. And I can't remember why. Why does he want to?
We don't know why. And the story is very cagey in that it does not reveal Montoya's motive for murder. Although ironically, it's right in the title of the episode.
Yeah, that's true.
We see him kill Hector, and there's the talk of the bullfight, and Hector's has to leave, but we don't know why. So when they get into the ring before the bull is released, Montoya pulls out this little gun, shoots a tranquilizer dart into Hector, and then in an extremely somber and dreadful shot we see from the inside of the cage, we see Montoya walking towards the cage, and the music sort of ascending as we start to realize that what he intends to do is just open up the gate and let the bull have its way with Hector and kill him, and that's exactly what happens. And the way that it's shot is that once he opens the gate, the bull runs out. And the minute the bull hits Hector, we don't see it, but we see an instant car crash in which Colombo rear ends a taxi full of some folks.
Yeah, and of course the driver, the taxi driver, he gets out of the car to see what happens, and there's just a stranger, random pedestrian walks up and tells him to get back into his car and tells him to hold his neck. And so the taxi driver goes, oh,
I broke my neck. And I'll bet you that guy was a lawyer. That skeevy guy with the sunglasses and that was a lawyer.
You think?
He was a lawyer.
It was payday for him.
What's so fantastic about this scene is it's hilarious because Colombo can't speak a lick of Spanish. And everybody is crowding around. And I'm sure most of these people were just right off the street. And you can tell if you look at these... You can see people just standing in the street staring at the movie making crew. It's like,
yes,
you can't do that. But they obviously had no control over it.
Yeah, later in the episode, it's really obvious. It's when Columbo and Sanchez are walking and they're discussing the case. This is about a little over halfway in. They're walking through the streets and everybody is facing the camera. I mean, there's nobody who has their back to the camera. Everybody is facing the camera. It's so obvious that they want to be seen or being recorded.
Yeah. Nobody shouts out, "Could you all please act like you're doing something else?"
Yeah, it was just so weird. Like 50 people in the shot are all facing the camera.
I wonder how many of them actually got to see themselves later on. But interesting. So
Colombo says, how did you didn't break his neck? I was only going 10 miles per hour. And then the cops show up and he goes, I don't understand. I was just going 5 miles per hour. So Colombo starts changing his story.
Chingwe. It's cinco, Colombo, not chingue.
What's
chingue? 5.
What's chingue in Spanish?
I don't know, but it's not 5. It's going to be cinco.
You never celebrate Cinco de Mayo again.
Yeah, and so he's picked up. Actually, he's literally picked up by 2 cops. Oh, he says, they're going to tow his car away. So he's like, wait, you can't take my car. My wife's at the hotel. So he starts pulling these stupid souvenirs out of his car, like a big, huge sombrero and like some knit bag. And like until these 2 guys come up and take him on either side and they bring him over to a cop car where we meet Commandant Sanchez,
Yes.
who is the Kirby of the episode, if you will.
Oh, I thought he looked more like the Hispanic version of Smokey from Smokey and the Bandit. Or no, the Bandit. He would have been the Bandit. He looked like he had the cowboy hat, the jeans, the button-down shirt, the mustache. I thought
yes,
looked like
he did.
Yeah,
I've never seen that movie, but I know exactly what you're talking about. R.I.P. Burt Reynolds. That was Burt Reynolds, right?
Yeah, that was Burt Reynolds, right?
Yeah,
he's
but
dead. He's dead too. Yeah,
yeah. He died a year ago or so. Yeah. So is the guy who played Sanchez, by the way. He is obviously the commandant of police, and he's like, he knows who Lieutenant Colombo is for once. Yeah. It's like Lieutenant Colombo can go anywhere in the L.A. Police Department, and they're all annoyed at him. But this guy's like,
it's like his biggest fan.
He's his biggest. He's the number one fan. So he's like, well, why don't you come hang out with me? I'm gonna go check out a death at a bull ring or a bull ranch, whatever, delicious ranch dressing.
I don't understand why he wants Colombo to come along. He really forces the case onto Colombo too. Does he just not have enough staff? Does he? I know he doesn't want the heat of the press.
Maybe. He doesn't think there's a murder. Colombo's the one who comes. But okay, so they go to the ranch. They meet Montoya. Mm-hmm. They see the bull ring, the bull, and everybody's acting as if this is an accident. But Colombo, he knows something is up. And I think it's the car wash scene. I think that's when he suddenly realized that Hector was actually murdered by Montoya.
Yeah, it's pretty early on Colombo suspects. I think, it was during this scene, for whatever reason. I don't really connect the dots to that. But, so we meet Carlos, the mechanic, the stud muffin mechanic. He does have a shirt on in this scene. We see that, so Montoya has two cars. He's got like this old 40s looking.
Yeah, it's like even earlier, 1920s.
Even that, yeah.
And I even like the color. That's from Indiana Jones.
But Montoya can't drive it because I guess it's a stick shift, and his bad leg would not be able to work the clutch or something. I don't know.
So Hector drives him around in that car, and if Montoya wants to drive himself or have Carlos drive him, he drives the fancy red sports car with the hard top, which I think is a Cadillac. I think so, yeah. Colombo suddenly realizes that Montoya, early on, told them to bring the hard top into town. I can't remember where he went. San Diego? Bring the hard top into town, and they would leave the old classic automobile behind.
Yeah, even though he would normally take that wherever he went.
Exactly. And as Columbo said in one episode, don't ask me when someone does something that they usually do, and then one day they do it completely different, I have to start to wonder. So, and he also finds out that, Montoya suspiciously let everybody leave early and got Miguel drunk. And he's got this really great line where there's this really great line where he says to one of the guys, he goes, "It's occupational hazard." And the guy's like, "What does that mean?" He's like, "That's when wherever you go, you take your work with you." And the guy goes, "Yes, we call that loco." Yes. Excuse me.
Yes.
And the conversation begins with Colombo fishing out a Spanish phrase, but going, "Excuse me, yo soy policia." It's okay, sir. He doesn't say I
speak English.
Yeah.
And it's so weird because I like to think that Colombo does speak Italian. In some episodes, he does, and some other times he doesn't know how or doesn't understand. But in my mind, if there was a kind of a Bible for Colombo, I would say he does speak Italian. And Spanish and Italian are very similar languages, so I'm a little surprised he had a hard time with the language in this one. But whatever.
Yeah. So, there's another great scene where he tells Sanchez at first, he goes, "Oh, I see enough dead bodies on my job. I'm just going to look around." And then, of course, he ends up running into the ring and wanting to look at the dead body. And he's like, wow, I didn't expect that.
Yeah.
But
yeah, so, Colombo goes in. He starts looking around the ring. He notices the fresh... they call it skid marks, but I guess when the bull, when he's about to charge, he'll run his front hoof into the dirt.
Mm-hmm.
So he sees that, fresh marks. He also finds at the time what he thinks is a pike. Is that right?
A pick.
Or pick.
Well, Montoya is a piece of wood, and Montoya tells him it's from a pick that they used to herd cows or something.
Right. But yeah, so those are kind of the two initial clues that something was fresh or recent had happened.
Yeah, something happened.
Yeah.
And it's all, again, very mysterious why Montoya did this. And maybe I should save my comments on this for later. But then they go out for not for drinks, but for lunch. And Columbo explains, also, he notices that the cape, it's not called a cape, it's called something else. But
I wrote down, it's called a muleta.
Muleta, okay. Yeah. It's not ripped or torn or anything. It's, it's
frail,
just as if it's been...
Frayed,
yeah.
I mean.
It's also not something else, but we're not going to mention what that was until later. So they leave the ranch, and he and Sanchez have a conversation in which he basically tells Sanchez, look, it was murder. I'm pretty sure it was murder because for all the reasons that we've, already explained. Sanchez is like, look, you're saying that, Montoya possibly killed this man. Montoya is one of the most powerful men in all of Mexico. This could be the end of me if this is wrong. It's going to ruin me. So Colombo decides he's going to stay on.
He'll end up rotting in his own prison.
Yeah, but probably. So Colombo decides he's going to stay a little while longer. He's going to send his wife home.
He can't go because they impounded his car.
Yeah, but even when he gets his car back later on, you're right.
He's so engaged at that point. But yeah, I like in the meals. So like in this particular one, they're eating lunch at a restaurant, and now I guess this as a heads up, everybody that's listening, Sean and I were discussing going out to eat, and you said you were craving Mexican food, right? Mm-hmm. After watching this. And watching that, it made me crave, I want to go to a Mexican restaurant. Because I was just watching this. Because they had those big, I forget what they call those kind of cups. It's like a goblet of beer.
Yes.
And you see those only in Mexican restaurants.
Mm-hmm.
But did you notice at every meal, there's always, or with Sanchez, whenever you show him like getting a drink or something, there's always a beer bottle or some beer on the table.
Yep.
I guess that's a thing there. I don't know.
Well, yeah, I think that us Americans are, or we Americans are fairly, I don't know, maybe it's because we don't have any self-control and we're liable to just get flat out drunk. But I think that a lot of other cultures have no qualms about having one cocktail with lunch, or, while on the job. So at least that seems to be the case. Like in French, they're always drinking red wine. Oui. Or if you're Gerard Depardieu, you drink 16 bottles of red wine a day.
So, so we find out that the bull was used as a weapon, just like a gun. Actually, paraphrasing from Columbo there, but and at this point, Sanchez asks Columbo to go ahead and lead the investigation. Again, I don't know why. I think that's very bizarre that you would ask a foreigner who's not aware of the local laws to be the investigator of a probable murder.
Well, he doesn't have any jurisdiction, but he could certainly, he's smart enough to ferret out the clues, which he does. Mm-hmm. And then no doubt Sanchez took the credit for the arrest later. Spoiler, they arrest him at the end. He no doubt took the credit for the arrest at the end. So,
so we're introduced, next scene, we're introduced to the most pointless character. I mean, there is no reason to have this person in the episode. The only reason I can think that this person shows up and has any scenes at all is she was probably sleeping with somebody on.
Oh yes,
we're introduced to Montoya's daughter Nina.
Yeah,
and she serves absolutely no purpose. I'm not saying that she's a worthless character. They could have done things with her, but they didn't. The script didn't really call for her to be in any revealing scenes. There's nothing. She doesn't help uncover anything. She just shows up, has 3 scenes, and does not contribute to the story at all.
Yeah, no, you're right. I don't understand either. In fact, the first couple times that I saw this, I thought that the housekeeper was her mother. Because there's this jolly little round little housekeeper that answers the door and stuff. But and also when she shows up, the housekeeper is very affectionate. But yeah, you're right. She's the murderer's daughter, and she's Kuro's girlfriend, and that's all we
right. But yeah, so this is when Montoya sees Colombo kind of walking around the campus. He's looking for clues, and I guess he wasn't aware that he was there. And then this is when Montoya starts to become a little uncomfortable that Colombo is being so nosy. Before he thought of him as just kind of
I find him amusing.
Yeah,
is what he said.
Yeah, exactly.
I find him amusing.
He thought he was harmless, but now he's
which is Columbo 101, really.
Yeah,
it
is.
But I really like the scene where Columbo goes to talk to Miguel, and 2 funny things happen. Mm-hmm. First of all, they're trying to rein in a calf, and at one moment it goes charging towards Columbo, and he freaks out and climbs up on top of a fence to get away from the animal.
Towards a tree, yeah.
And then he's talking to Miguel, and Miguel's like, "Oh, has a canteen." He's like, "Oh, here, have some." And Columbo's like, "Oh, thank you, I'm thirsty." And it's not water; it's mezcal. Yeah.
So,
I think Miguel may have some problems.
I don't think. Yeah, well, he's got a sick sense of humor. I don't think this was a very smart decision on Columbo. I'm not sure if he's familiar with the term Montezuma's revenge.
Yes, that's right.
If he was thinking it was water, especially from a ranch, he would be having severe diarrhea within 24 hours. I mean, I don't.
That's right.
I don't. Surely they told him that when he was telling friends, his doctor to get his, shots or whatever to go to another country. I'm sure they said, "Don't drink the water. Whatever you do."
And he has heard the term Montezuma's revenge because the nurse in Troubled Waters mentioned it.
That's right.
When he was in the infirmary. So that never even occurred to me, Steve. Like maybe it was, Avion water, and he put it in the canteen.
I don't think that Avion water back then. Nor would I think the ranch hands would be. I think they would probably drink out of the spigot. To be quite honest. Or but whatever was in the pond on the ranch. You know what I mean? Like I don't see them like.
I think that I don't know. I know when I was in Mexico, everybody that I saw would drink bottled water, but they didn't have bottled water in the 70s.
No,
they must have. I mean, you could buy big gallon jugs, like milk jugs, full of water, but bottled water wasn't all this fancy shit that we have now. Oh. Maybe they're just immune to it, and they don't.
What the locals? No, the locals are fine. They can drink it. Their bodies adjusted to it. So it's...
I don't know about Mexico, but I know in Thailand they can't drink the water at all.
Really?
Yeah, they drink bottled water. So yeah, if you get like I did, if you somehow manage to get any kind of that water in your system, that's it. You're going to be spending the rest of your vacation in the bathroom, and maybe you'll lose a few pounds.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, speaking of losing things, Hernandez or Miguel takes Colombo, I guess, on a little tour. He's just going to follow him around, ask him some questions, and we see that Hector's things have been already packed, and nobody knows why his things have been packed.
That's very strange.
Yeah.
Yes. And we learned what the difference is between a pick and a lance, because Jaime, the guy who told him that he was a loco, says, "Oh, by the way, everybody on the ranch conveniently knows how to speak English, except for the housekeeper, the lady." Columbo shows him the wooden piece that he found in the ring, and he says, "This is part of a pick." He's like, "No, that's part of a lance, because it's a different color." And apparently a lance is used to fight bulls or do something with bulls. Don't ask me what the difference is. So Colombo then is thinking, what the hell is a lance doing in the ring then? And where's the rest of it? And why is Hector's lance missing? Mm-hmm. It's all very suspicious. And Colombo really can't figure it out. Of course, all this comes down to Montoya's motive, which we'll get to shortly, I think.
Yeah. And Montoya comes into the room and because he hears Colombo asking all these questions. And so, of course, he's concerned, is what he thinks is where it's leading. And so Montoya kind of shows him a few things and tells him, the differences between a lance and a pick. And then we find out about his last bullfight, where it was his last fight was his most famous, was the one where there was it wasn't even, he said it wasn't even his fight. He was I don't know what he was doing there, but a matador got wounded, and so he jumped in at the last minute to rescue him and distract the bull so they could carry the other matador off the field. And he ended up getting gored himself, but he stayed in to fight, and he ended up slaying the bull. And he said the crowd was electrifying. They cheered him on, but that was his last fight ever. But it was his most memorable fight ever. And
it's a very good monologue by Ricardo Maltaban.
Oh yes, he's the reason why he's a well-known, I think, actor from the 70s and 80s. He's just fantastic and such a good, wonderful voice. Very nice. Yeah. But he said something at the end of that sentence, and I wasn't really sure. I don't think you'll know the answer to this, and maybe someone can email us this. But at the end, he says something like, after the fight, he says something about like 2 ears and a tail. So does he keep the ears and the tail? I don't. What was he referencing?
I noticed that too, and I did not look it up because I was watching this and I had no time. But that is a very good point. Maybe that's their rating system. Maybe it's, I don't know. Do we have any Spanish or Mexican listeners that can email us about that? That was my Jan Hooks from Pee Wee Herman. This is Adobe. These are tortillas. Can you say tortillas? There's no basement in the Alamo. But this conversation concludes, not our conversation, but the conversation between Montoya and Colombo, with Montoya's like, okay, well, you're going to be going, and you must be time for you to go back to L.A. And Colombo's like, well, no, actually, I'm going to stay for a little while. And you can just see Montoya's face change, like, fuck. And then he fake like, well, okay, well, it's, my house is your house. Okay, no problem. Yeah. And then Colombo leaves, and we get this classic reaction shot of the murder after Colombo walks out of the room like, oh, fuck, this fucking guy.
Well, it's interesting because, like you said earlier, he was famous. He was well-known, national treasure. He probably has every politician in his pocket, in his back pocket. Right. Some degree. And I mean, even the Commandant even says, he can't really do anything here. So it's fortunate because Colombo can come in and he can do these things and kind of stumble around as a tourist, get away with things that probably an official investigation probably could not get away with. But because there was a big problem, I think at the end we noticed when Sanchez says, what does he say? He says he's going to do an autopsy, right? And his biggest concern was not about what they would find in autopsy. His biggest concern was it's going to get out to the media. They're going to find out there's an autopsy, and then it would find its way back to Montoya.
Yeah, that's what they discuss next in the town plaza, where every single person there can't take their eyes off the cameraman.
I'm surprised they didn't try, but it's so obvious. I mean, you walk into a crowd, let's say a crowded building. Not everybody's going to be facing you. There might be 2 or 3 people out of 20 that are actually looking in your direction, but everybody's going to be turning different directions. But in this scene, everybody's staring at you. I mean, it's...
Yeah, there's a shot when they're on top of that gazebo or whatever, and there's a couple guys just looking straight up at the camera, and then Sanchez and Colombo pass a group of people a big line of people almost that are just staring at them walking by. Couldn't somebody have sung, ladies and gentlemen, could you all please, act like you're doing something else? But, of course, they would have to speak Spanish. So maybe Pablo, the Mexican herder, was not there that day, so they couldn't tell people to do that. So, I don't know. You ever watch The Amazing Race?
No, I don't think I've ever seen that. I've seen Cannonball Run.
No.
That also had... what's his name?
Burt Reynolds.
Yeah, Burt Reynolds in it.
The Amazing Race, the TV show. You've never seen that, where they basically race literally all over the world. No. There was an episode set where they were in India, and they were. This was years ago. It was a mother and daughter team, and this is reality TV, and they got stuck in a street like in Delhi or something, and their motorbike or whatever broke down, and the Indian people just stopped and just surrounded them entirely and were just staring like, oh my gosh, that's a TV crew. Let's watch and see what they're doing. And sometimes when you are a foreigner in other lands, people do indeed stare at you. I found that when I was in Thailand, that there would be people staring.
Just staring at you?
Yeah, they'll just
the white
look
devil.
At you. Yeah, not so much in Mexico, but I remember in Thailand and Vietnam, they just would stare like, "Oh my god, a white guy!"
I think it's interesting. This episode has turned from a Colombo review to you visiting Thailand. You brought this up like 3 times. So don't drink the water. They like looking at white people. What else? What was the other travel tip you had for Thailand?
Travel tip for Thailand. Be respectful. Don't touch anybody on the head.
Why would you touch somebody on the head?
Don't touch anybody with your feet. That's a real motherfucking thing. No, you cannot. It is extremely rude to touch somebody on top of the head, especially an elderly person.
But do people go around petting elderly? I mean, what's going on there?
I don't know. It's just rude to do. I don't know. I don't know why. You don't want to do that. It's kind of like you don't want to, when you're taking a picture with a lady, you don't want to put your hand down at the area right above her butt, because that's gross. Unless it's your wife or girlfriend.
And ladies and gentlemen, if you want any more traveling tips from Sean, if you're planning a trip to Thailand, please email us at colomboconfab@gmail.com.
Okay.
We also learn in the scene that Colombo's sitting at the police station reading about bullfighting.
It looks so hot there.
It does. But we find out that Sanchez is basically keeping Colombo in Mexico. He cannot get his car, I think on purpose. I mean, he's the commandant there, so he should have that kind of power. But he can't get his car out. And he even says, "Oh, you can't leave because I have your pictures up at the border stations. So if they see you, they're going to return you," basically.
Which is not very nice.
Yeah, so I have a feeling that was supposed to be in jest, but maybe not.
Yeah, because Sanchez is not really an asshole. I mean, he wants to use Colombo's talents, but he's not going to literally keep him there. And he does eventually. He was going to let him go. Mm-hmm. Colombo was going to leave at some point until he actually solved it, and then ended up staying an extra day or two. But Colombo goes to talk to Churro.
Well, this is the scene. Curro. This is when Colombo asks Sanchez for an autopsy and for the weather report.
Yes.
The weather report is very important. That's almost more important than the autopsy. But anyways,
and he wants an autopsy because they found a needle mark on Hector's butt, literally on his butt, and the weather report. I don't remember. Well, he wants to find out if it was raining that day.
Right.
Yeah.
So
and it wasn't.
Right. So yeah,
not at the ranch anyway.
So Colombo goes to the hospital to talk to Curro. And of course, we see Nina not really doing anything. She's just kind of visiting her boyfriend. That's really it. And she promptly leaves. So Colombo then proceeds to ask Curro about the day of his accident with the bull. I guess like the weather. What else does he ask him?
He asks him why a pick should be, or a lance would be in the, or wait, I'm sorry. He tells him that his father packed up a bag. Kuro doesn't know why. He doesn't remember anything. He blacked out. So it's not, thankfully for Kuro's safety, he blacked out as soon as the bull hit him. Actually, everything that Columbo asks, it seems that Kuro is pretty much on the same page with Columbo. Regarding there is indeed something suspicious about his father's death, because he helps Columbo with something a little bit later. And indeed,
and he tells him at this point, I don't think it was an accident. I don't think it was the bull. I think Montoya killed your father. Yeah. So we see that Columbo finally gets his car back. Finally. And he goes back to Montoya's casa.
This is where the point where just Montoya loses it. This conversation that he has, he's polite and lets Columbo see what he wants to see at first, and then he just fucking loses it at the end because Columbo starts asking about drugs, and Montoya, let's see the books, and Montoya shows him the drugs. And the books,
the gun, the gun that has the needle, which would be the delivery system that explain the needle mark. And
one thing we forgot to mention is that Montoya left the day of the murder, and his story was that Hector didn't want to go with him because he wanted to work on the books.
Right.
So,
and apparently he closed the books off a couple of days prior.
Yeah, 3 days before, and Montoya signed off on that. So what the fuck? And that's when Montoya basically loses his patience and tells Columbo to get the fuck out.
Yeah.
So
many words.
Yeah. So he gets out. Also, I think... did we go over the clue of the car that... how did Montoya know in the morning that he was going to...
I don't think we did, but so Montoya had the car washed. The one that with the clutch or whatever that was washed,
the good one.
Yeah.
And he told them in the morning he was going to take the hardback automatic, but and later he tells people, it's because Hector said he was going to stay behind, but Hector didn't make this or Hector supposedly hadn't. How did he know that in the morning before Hector even arrived at the ranch? There was timing there. It was a good clue, but there was timing, and I'm not doing it justice. But so now we're into full on Robert Culp territory, Dick Van Dyke territory, where the two of them cannot meet again. He's going to get Columbo fired. Or no, he's not going to get him fired. He's just going to, I never want to see you again. Get off my property. And Columbo's like, well, I know my way out, sir. Thank you. And we're treated to a scene where Columbo goes to say goodbye to Sanchez at his house. And he says to Sean Sanchez, he's like, oh, I'm sorry. When Columbo leaves, he turns to Montoya. He says, sir, someday, maybe not tomorrow, and it's not going to be me, but someone's going to come knocking at your door about this matter. And then he leaves. And
I really don't think that would have happened. To be quite honest, I think there'd have been enough people that respected or would not go after Montoya because he's such like I said earlier, a hero or a national treasure.
Yeah, and I think we can add right now that he's not going to go to jail. Well, no, I think we'll discuss that.
Yeah,
when we get
who
there.
Knows? So Columbo goes to talk to Sanchez to kind of review the case, basically say goodbye, I'm leaving, and Sanchez says, well, I can't believe you're leaving me this mess, basically. I'm probably going to lose my job, and thank you. So during this time, Columbo was watching Sanchez's two boys play. I don't know what you would call the game, but one's a bull, one's a matador, and but they're having to water down the muleta because it's windy. And Columbo says, "What are they doing? What's that?" And so he explains that the wind doesn't blow the muleta into the matador, they have to water it down to weigh it down.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense.
Yeah, and I think Columbo makes some kind of racial reference to Chinese here.
Yeah, what was that? How did what was that? Was he making a joke that I didn't get?
Don't know. So,
but what he does then is so weird. It's yet another example of Columbo not respecting someone's personal space. He walks off and he literally bumps into the two boys as he walks off without saying excuse me or whatever because his mind is somewhere else.
Yeah.
Because at this point he's basically solved the crime.
Right. Very
supposedly.
monk-like. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're next treated to Sanchez and Colombo show back up again at Montoya's house, and this is where Montoya says to Sanchez, "I'm going to have you removed from the force. You're going to lose your pension." Somebody comes running in. "Oh, sir, Kuro is back, and he's going to fight the bull." And they're like, "Well, this is nonsense." So he goes out there. Montoya grabs a sword and a what's it called? The cape,
the muleta,
to protect Kuro, but the bull's not out yet. And he's like, "No, don't do this. You're going to get yourself killed. You want to go back to the hospital, you fool." And
he obviously, I think he honestly does love Kuro.
Yeah,
I think he really respects him. I think he sees him. He even tells what's the guy who died? Remind me again.
Hector.
Okay, yeah. He reminds Hector that he's my son, and he says something to the fact, well, I feel like he's my son too. So he really loves Kuro. I mean, he definitely sees his daughter, and maybe that's why Nina's in this stupid episode. But anyways, so he foresees, this he being a permanent member of his family. And so, of course, he wants to protect him. He is, I think, legitimately concerned about him.
But he shouldn't be concerned because it's a trap. They open up the gate, and Kuro runs off. I think Kuro opens the gate, if I remember. He runs away, quickly opens up the gate, hides behind a shield.
No,
and there's
Montoya. I
Montoya.
don't think he opens the gate. I'm trying to remember. The bull was charging the gate. Didn't he break out? I'm not really sure.
No. They released the bull themselves. Somebody released the bull. And Montoya is terrified. He can't face the bull.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting that I'm watching this on a 4K TV, on digital media. Image is crystal clear, and that bull is slobbering like crazy. Did you notice how much is coming out of that bull?
Yeah,
that's intense. That means that bull is nuts.
Wait, this
isn't a petting zoo. This bull is. You don't want to get any kind of liquid hand sanitizer after you pet this thing. I mean, this thing is going to kill you.
Yeah. Speaking of the high definition and the quality of the picture, there's another moment very early on when Colombo gets in the car accident and he gives his ID to a policeman. Mm-hmm. And you see that his ID says Frank Colombo.
Oh, is this that episode?
This was the second episode. The first one was Dead Weight, when he shows his ID to Eddie Albert.
Oh, okay.
So I guess we're at a time now when, it wasn't until DVD that we were able to see that his name was Frank, which is a fact that Peter Falk never divulged. Nobody on the cast or crew ever divulged this, but
that's funny.
I'm sorry, where were we?
So Montoya, he freezes, and that's the clue that solves the case.
And the motive.
So this, because he freezes in the ring or whatever you call where they do the bullfight. That explains the entire story.
Yeah. So Montoya, without any words, he hands the muleta to Colombo, and then he gets into the squad car after his daughter screams, "Papa!"
It's their third scene, yeah.
Yeah. And her fourth word. So basically, instead of bearing the thought of being, publicly humiliated by everybody finding out that he's a coward, he'd rather just turn himself in for murder. Okay.
And he kills his best friend because his friend saw him scared.
Yes. It's a matter of honor.
So wouldn't he just say, hey, my friend, let's never speak of this moment ever again?
I think that would have been a good idea because, obviously, as it turned out, because Hector was going to leave anyway,
Maybe he thought Hector would talk. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
maybe.
And it would ruin his reputation. I don't know. So,
but there's one more scene, and that's where Colombo explains to Sanchez that his kids solved the murder because the weather report,
right,
which says that it was very windy between 5 and between 4 until maybe about 6 o'clock,
something like that. Yeah.
But there were no water jugs at the crime scene, and the muleta was not wet or didn't have any water stains. Yeah. So he must have been killed beforehand when Montoya was still at the ranch. To which I thought to myself, well, maybe he could have been killed by the bull while Montoya was there. Montoya wouldn't have known about it. But
yeah.
Oh no. Then Montoya would have gotten him to bring him to town, and then he would have found that. Yeah, that would have been better, Montoya, if you did it that way. If you killed him and then pretended to find the dead body instead of going off out of town to establish an alibi for yourself.
Are you ready to rate this episode?
Yeah, after a word from our sponsor.
Yay.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Good taste. What is good taste? Let me put it this way. If you've got it, you don't have to shout it. And you certainly don't show it like this. In coffee, good taste is a subtle thing. A blend of rich flavor and long experience. And once you've found it, nothing else will do. Maxwell House ground coffee. Always good to the last drop.
And we're back. Okay.
All right, Sean. If I remember correctly, I reviewed it first last time. So tonight is your turn to go first. So, a lot of numbers in this episode that I could have pulled from. But this one I don't. You
say that every time.
Yeah, I do, don't I? This one you're not ever going to get. So, after watching this, I thought to myself, I wonder what the dollar to peso rate is currently.
Oh.
Yeah. So, it's going to be educational night. $1 equals 19 pesos. So, out of 19 pesos, or 19, what would you rate this episode?
I never really liked this episode very much. And I think it was because, first of all, and to its credit, I think this is a good thing, it has a very different feel from some of the other episodes. They do a really good job. Well, it's fucking filmed in Mexico. I mean, that's that right there. It has more of a Mexican feeling to it than an on-location feeling than the vast majority of other episodes.
Yes, I agree with you.
And it always confused me because I never understood what the motive was. And because of that, I would always sort of tune out when I was watching it, and it wasn't until I watched it for this that I really paid attention to it. And for being one of the shorter episodes, instead of one of these 2-hour episodes with commercials, it's got a lot of good clues in it. And I really enjoyed it until the end because it just doesn't. I don't like the traps, like when he traps people into giving up. I prefer like a really good, solid clue, like a literally a forensic, like smoking gun. And I've never liked the ending of this episode, and I don't know how not noticing a jug of water or that the thing was the muleta was wet, I don't know how that solves the crime. Because maybe Hector, who isn't a bullfighter, wouldn't have known. Well, maybe he would have known to wet the muleta because he's worked with bullfighters. But it just didn't seem like like a gotcha clue. Like it just seemed like a clue as opposed to a gotcha clue. And it also didn't make sense at first because then I didn't have a timeline of when Montoya left the ranch to when Hector was supposed to be killed. I just didn't like the end. I liked everything else about this except for the end. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to give this a 14 out of 19.
Okay.
However, A. Martinez, his shirt at the end gets a 19, definitely.
Okay.
He's wearing this shirt,
with a
but
gold
it's
chain.
tied, and you can just see his midriff. It's kind of like the Johnny Depp getup in Nightmare on Elm Street. Sorry, this gay moment was brought to you by Sean.
So 14 out of 19. Okay. Well, I remember when I first watched this. I was intrigued because Ricardo Maltaban was in it, and I really enjoyed him. I think he's a fabulous actor. So I was really, really curious about this. Plus the synopsis. I don't know where I read the synopsis. It was probably on IMDb or something like that. It sounded really interesting. So popped it in. Bored to tears. Watched it for tonight. Again, bored to tears. I don't know why. I just did not enjoy this at all. Admittedly, Montalban is fantastic. I think he's the reason to watch it. If you're looking for a famous killer or famous actor who plays a killer in Colombo, he's great. He when he recounts his stories of his past heroics, he's just a wonderful actor. Great. I mean, I was a real treasure just as an actor himself. But I just was really bored by the story. I mean, Nina was what was the point of that? We discussed it, but it didn't really make much sense. I don't know why I just wasn't really engaged in this as much. I didn't find Sanchez very, as a sidekick or whatever he was supposed to be. I didn't find him very interesting. I don't know. I just didn't do anything for me. I'd give this. What'd you say? 14?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not the worst episode. I don't want to rate it so low, which I'm really tempted to do, but it's not the worst. I'd probably give it an 8. Half of.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You know what? I think that we could have used less Sanchez, more Ricardo Maltaban.
Yes.
I wish there was a way, and to fit it into the story. I don't know how they would have done this because Colombo being a foreigner, he wouldn't have been able to, but there would be more of Colombo talking to Montalban and having more access. Well, he did have access.
Yeah.
So instead of explaining to Montalban about the murder, it's a murder, the bull was the weapon, like a gun. Yeah. I wish that there was more back and forth between the Colombo and the murderer here. Even though we've got that scene where Montalban goes from 0 to 60 hating Colombo, and also I do like that he gives Colombo credit for solving it, as some murderers do, by handing Colombo the muleta and the sword, and then kind of smiling at him, and then getting into the squad car. You see them do that sometimes, like John Cassavetes in Etude in Black, and Roddy McDowell and Short Fuse, and all that. Excuse me. So it's not the best thing ever, but it's nice that they did something different with Colombo. You would never think, oh, let's make one with a bullfighter in it who's the murderer.
Right.
What? I could see the people in the writers' room, well, how the fuck are we going to make that happen? But they may have said some source material to use. But this is the first of 2 episodes featuring victims who were killed by animals, actually. Do you know what the other one was?
No, what was the other one?
How to Dial a Murderer, which we have not watched for this yet. So
Can't remember that one.
You watched it at my house. You watched the beginning, and then you were like, okay, well, I don't want to watch this anymore. Let's watch a movie instead. I'm too drunk to watch this.
Oh, okay. Oh,
so
that was honest. All right, I'm ready for next time. What's the episode we're going to review next?
Oh, wait, before we do that...
we got feedback?
we do have feedback.
Okay.
Okay, feedback. I want to give a big shout out to the folks on YouTube, especially to Edward, who has, I think he's commented on literally every episode that we have on YouTube.
That's good or bad?
I haven't. Okay, just to explain that when these podcast episodes drop to your Apple Podcast app or whatever other device you're using, it automatically puts it on YouTube. So after it puts it on YouTube, I don't really follow it, but I sometimes get notifications of the comments. So thank you for making comments. I'm just really sorry that I haven't been participating in that, and which is a shame because that would be like a little like Colombo Confab forum in a way. But okay. A big shout out to Greg Gunderson. Greg, I'm not going to read your email out. But I'm going to agree with it.
Okay.
And I also love your name, Greg Gunderson, son of a Gunderson. He's probably been hearing that his whole life because of Fargo. But I can't. For courtesy reasons, I can't comment on what exactly his email was. I can't read it, and I can't read it out loud. But Greg, yeah, I agree. Yeah. With that, I have nothing else, surprisingly. We pretty much shot our feedback load in the last 2 episodes before this. So, Steve, would you do me the honor, please? Please, I should say.
I'm doing it.
Spin it now. All right, we are going to watch A Case of Immunity, starring Hector Elizondo as an Arabian diplomat.
Uh-huh.
That's like 2 foreigners in a row.
Okay.
It's almost like a theme.
Huh.
Have you seen this one?
Yeah, I've seen this one.
Oh, great. Another fun-filled episode with Steve. With Steve at the end saying, I don't know, I just didn't like it. It was not interesting. It was boring. I just don't know. It was boring.
That's a really good impersonation there. I bet people got really confused. Did they think, did Steve just say that? No, Sean.
Or was it Oscar the Grouch?
All right, everybody.
So with that, say goodnight, Steve.
Good night.
Good night, everybody. Thank you for listening to the Colombo Confab podcast. To email us with a comment or question, write to colomboconfab@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter @colomboconfab, and look for us on Facebook. If you're enjoying the show, please leave us some happy reviews on iTunes. I love clues.
And the Oscar goes to...
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 Hi, my name is Sean, and I am the co-host of the Best Picture podcast. Each season, my co-host Eric and I randomly select a year and talk about the Best Picture nominees of that year, with each episode dedicated to a different movie. Did the Best Picture really win? Were there any overlooked movies? Was anything nominated that probably shouldn't have been? Listen to us and find out. Look for us wherever you can get fine podcasts.